If you've only been injecting your GLP-1 in your belly and you are still feeling hungry all the time, not getting any food noise relief, barely getting any appetite suppression, then you have got to hear this. Trying a different injection site completely changed how Mounjaro worked for me. I know that may sound unbelievable, but I'm telling you, when I stopped injecting in my belly and started using my arm and my thigh, it made a huge difference. And this week, I reminded myself the hard way why I stopped injecting in my belly in the first place. Last week, I went back to a belly injection for the first time after 7 or 8 months, and within 10 hours, I could feel that something was off. My appetite suppression faded really fast, and within a couple of days, I was feeling hungry all the time. Not just wanting a snack or craving something, but that burning, empty stomach feeling that wouldn't calm down until I had something to eat. And if you're a slow responder, that can really mess with your head, because once you've experienced that peace around food that you get from GLP-1, the thought of that going away is terrifying. Welcome to Slow and Steady with Andi. I'm Andi, and in this video, we're talking about still feeling hungry when you're on a GLP-1, appetite suppression, food noise, and why your injection site might be a bigger deal than you think. I'm not saying that belly injections don't work, because there are a lot of people who experience great response from their GLP-1 with only injecting in their belly. And the belly is typically the least painful spot to take your injection. But if you've only been injecting in your belly and you're sitting there wondering why you're still feeling hungry all the time, why you still have food noise, why you aren't experiencing that appetite suppression that you hear so many other people talking about, you may want to try injecting in your arm or your thigh for a couple weeks. You just might get a totally different response. Eli Lilly, the maker of Mounjaro and Zepbound, gives belly, arm, and thigh injection site options so you're not stuck on one spot forever. And the reason why I thought it was really important to share this video was because for those of you who may not be experiencing much of a response on your GLP-1, whether it be a compound version or Zepbound, Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic, I just want to encourage you not to assume that the medication just isn't going to work for you without trying one of the other injection sites first. And I'm also sharing this with you as somebody who experienced this drastic difference firsthand. For my first 3 or 4 months on Mounjaro, I was only injecting in the belly. I was following the instructions from Eli Lilly, and they direct you to go around your belly in different areas. You want to avoid the same spot week after week. And I was following that. And I was very frustrated because I was not having any response. I wasn't getting the bad responses, and I definitely wasn't getting the appetite suppression and the food noise relief. And at some point, I came across a couple of videos where one person injected strictly in their arm and another person injected in their thigh. And I went back and looked through those Eli Lilly instructions again, and I'm like, okay, so it does give you these 3 site options, and these people are saying that in those locations they got more of a response. So I said, yeah, I'm gonna try. So the first area that I chose was, I think, my thigh. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, injecting in your thigh or your arm is definitely not really pain-free. At least almost everyone I've talked to is like, why'd you tell me to inject there? It hurts. I know. And I wish that the belly worked for me, because there were times where I would hold my injection pen there because I didn't feel anything. I thought maybe the needle was stuck and nothing came out. So I was a little paranoid and thought I need to hold it there. But that wasn't the case. It's very pain-free injecting in the tummy for most people. There's definitely a burn that happens with the arm or the thigh. but it only lasts for a couple seconds. And I quickly determined that I would just deal with that couple seconds if I was going to continue to have a better response. At the point when I started injecting in my thigh, I was on the 5 milligram. I'm currently up to the 12.5 milligram. But I just want to point it out that way you know kind of where I was at on my journey. And up until that point, I had only lost 4 pounds. My first 4 months on Mounjaro, I had lost 4 pounds total. Once I switched injection sites, that is when I started to lose weight. And for me, I feel pretty confident that the reason why that happened was because I started getting the major appetite suppression and the food noise just went silent. I haven't had food noise since I stopped injecting in my belly. So now here I am, 13 months in on Mounjaro, up to 12.5 milligram dose. And last week when I was filming my weekly update video, I just felt like I didn't want to inject in my arm or my thigh. I didn't feel like dealing with the sting that week. And I thought, what if the belly would work for me now that I'm on a higher milligram? So I went ahead and I did the belly injection and it felt great. Well, not great. It's never great injecting yourself, I don't think, but it was a relief because I felt no pain. It was just effortless. However, within 10 hours of that injection, I started noticing that I'm just feeling a little different. Number one, I started to feel nauseous, which I've dealt with a little bit over my journey, but not very consistently and not very strong. But this was a pretty strong nausea, so I didn't like that. And then by day 2, after taking that injection, I woke up starving. And I'm talking, it was the type of hunger that felt like acid in my stomach, burning, nausea, stomach ache type of hunger. I'm like, what is going on? I don't like this feeling. And the only way it would go away is if I ate something. And that continued throughout the week. Just a side note, I will be sharing a little more detail of how the week went in the weekly update that will be coming out either before or after this video comes out. So if you do want to hear a little bit more, definitely go look for that video. But all I could think the whole week was I cannot wait until my next injection because I am going right back to injecting in my arm because I do not want to feel this hunger. I need my food peace back. But something else that has been on my mind this whole week was, what if I screwed this up? What if this 1 week of injecting in my belly is going to just take me off track? What if, even though I go back to injecting in my arm, my appetite suppression doesn't come back? And if you're a slow responder like me, then I'm sure that you can probably relate when I say that the thought of not getting appetite suppression back after experiencing that peace that you get from GLP-1 for so many months, it was just terrifying. I had a lot of anxiety from it. And while I am very anxious to take my next injection, I am a little nervous to see what happens. I'm hoping that the appetite suppression does come back. And I can promise you that I will never go back to injecting in my belly at all. I also feel like I should mention, as a type 2 diabetic who's on Mounjaro, that I understand a lot of us were excited to start one of these GLP-1s because many of us who are type 2 diabetic also would like to lose some weight. And I understand it is very frustrating when the weight loss is not happening on the medication. But for me, I still strongly believe that even if that appetite suppression stopped, the Mounjaro still would be working because my A1C, I was at 7.9 when I started Mounjaro, and I have maintained an A1C of 5.4 for 6 or 7 months now. So I would still stay on the medication even if I wasn't experiencing weight loss, which I am a very slow responder. So to some people, they would consider me somebody who the medication isn't going to work for, but it is working in many other areas of my health. And if you are going to try a different injection site, I would encourage you to keep a little journal and just keep track of any changes in pattern that you may notice, whether it's hunger, for food noise going away, just so you can compare for yourself what response you get from the different injection sites. And if this kind of real life GLP-1 stuff is what you're trying to figure out too, I would love to have you subscribe and join this slow and steady community. And if YouTube gives you the option to hype it, that will help push this video out to anyone else who might be sitting out there still hungry on their GLP-1 and wondering if they're the only one. If you're still hungry all the time on your GLP-1, I hope that you'll at least consider that it may not mean that your Mounjaro or your GLP-1 just isn't going to work for you. Maybe it's stress, sleep, hormones, blood sugar, dose, timing, or something else. But if you've only ever used one injection spot, then I really do think it's worth you trying another approved injection spot for a couple of weeks. If you've ever noticed a difference between belly, thigh, arm, let me know in the comments. I know I'm not the only one trying to figure this all out. And if you're a slow responder like me, or you feel like everybody else is getting these big dramatic results while you're still hungry and waiting on that scale to move, you are not alone here. Don't give up just because your body is taking longer to respond. Slow and steady still counts, even when it's frustrating. See you in the next one. Bye!
Been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change.